Ignored by the passage of time, a massive rusted TRL lay in the middle of nowhere, far from any mining site that was currently operational. While Parker Schnabel had seen his fair share of abandoned mining machinery in outlying locations, this enormous 40-foot-long machine with a 6.5-foot diameter axle was in a league of its own. Constructed during an era when mining relied on the rapid movement of large quantities of dirt, it was evident that this machine had previously been a formidable force designed for demanding tasks that processed immense quantities of pay dirt. An issue arose. It's possible that this TRL, which is currently just a piece of old, unused machinery, could be hiding a fortune in the form of fine gold that slipped through the screens and eventually built up inside the machinery over the years. We would likely spend half a season on this wash plant if it were operating at full capacity, which would drastically cut down on maintenance and plant downtime, two major concerns for our company. As he mounted the TRL and began to scrape away the grime and debris that had accumulated over the years, he noticed something peculiar. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than an abandoned relic covered in rust and dirt. However, his suspicions were confirmed when he noticed a glimmer of gold inside the machine. At first, he couldn't believe it. Could gold have remained undisturbed for so long? However, upon closer inspection, he noticed more flecks of gold embedded deep within the machine's worn-out interior. His initial suspicions transformed into a shocking revelation. The TRL was actually packed with gold, with a total estimated value exceeding $400 million. Curiously, no one had returned for it. For whatever reason, the original miners abandoned the machine and all that gold lay dormant, waiting to be rediscovered. Now, Parker faced a formidable challenge. He needed to get the TRL machine running again, which was easier said than done, as the machine was enormous, rusted, and crumbling, and removing it from the wilderness was. The initial challenge was to safely transport the heavy object over rough terrain using cranes, trucks, and meticulous planning. Then came the tough part: fixing the machine. The crew had to replace worn-out gears, fix broken screens, and reinforce the massive steel drum that enabled the entire operation. It was a great experience to evaluate those two plants today, but we must make some decisions. The clocks were ticking, and the labor was slow and laborious. However, Parker and his team were determined not to give up, knowing full well that their success depended on their ability to test the dirt that had accumulated around the TRL for gold. Things took an even wilder turn when they discovered that the dirt wasn't just good, it was incredibly rich. Each pan yielded more gold than expected, way beyond what normal mining ground would produce. This site wasn't just any old place, it was something truly special, and they couldn't believe its value. Without wasting any time, Parker established a small processing factory in the vicinity to optimize productivity. He was determined not to let another ounce of gold elude him, so he utilized a mix of traditional mining methods and modern technology. He spared no expense this time around, and as his team toiled to repair the TRL, they learned that the machine hadn't been used in just one operation, but rather was an integral element of an extensive mining network. According to historical documents, this network included numerous sites, connected, moving rich soil from one spot to another. If one TRL had been hoarding gold for decades, other deserted locations might be concealing equally valuable loot. These records were like a treasure map that led Parker to even more weeks passed with Parker's staff toiling away, examining every dented panel and rusted bolt for clues about the history of gold mining. It was no longer simply about mending an old machine. It became about uncovering a buried chapter in this industry's past. It wasn't just about the gold. Restoring the trauma was also about honoring the struggles and dreams of those who came before. This area was right here on the banks of Gold Run, a very rich creek that I'm assuming empties into Dominion. As they dug deeper, word spread, and the gold kept pouring in, far exceeding anyone's expectations. In front of the enormous machine, what had begun as an abandoned, rusting artifact had transformed into one of the greatest achievements of Parker's career. Parker couldn't help but think about how far they had come. The surface of the trauma was covered in rust, rather than being brand new, sleek, and shining. As time went on, vines started to encroach on it, and dirt had begun to accumulate within every crevice. Most people would have brushed it off as worthless garbage, but Parker noticed something. Cognizant of the fact that riches need not be buried deep, on occasion it may be uncovered, just waiting for the Parker saw a golden opportunity in the abandoned trell, a once great gold processing machine that had been thrown out in favor of newer, faster machines due to technological advancements. The machine had been used to separate gold from dirt and rock with remarkable efficiency, but now it lay abandoned in a remote mining area surrounded by broken tools, collapsed wooden structures, and rusted-out equipment. An important lesson that Parker had learned was that many miners failed to adequately recover gold from ancient machinery because they ignored them. Small nuggets of gold could get stuck in the troll's crevices along with dirt and debris. If this machine had previously processed gold-rich material, there was probably still some gold inside. It wasn't just a rusty old tur. It was a hidden gold vault just waiting to be opened. Extracting it from its secluded spot wouldn't be an easy task. The TRL was enormous, weighing several tons, and it was located far from any accessible roads. Safely transporting it required heavy machinery, careful coordination, and sheer determination. If anything went wrong, the entire project would be for naught, but Parker's team wasn't going to back down. They meticulously planned every step, knowing that if they succeeded, they wouldn't just be moving an old machine, they would be resurrecting a legend. From a design standpoint, it's great because it's portable, easy to move around, and it's on wheels, which is a good idea. This is a wash facility that can process 50 or 60 yards per hour, which isn't very big. Imagine a supersized version of this. Once they moved it to a safe place, the real job could start, but the years of weathering had taken their toll. Rust had eaten away at vital components, metal had weakened, and some parts were missing entirely. However, Parker was not one to back down from a challenge. He and his crew set out to disassemble the TRL layer by layer, scrubbing off rust, replacing broken parts, and strengthening weak spots. But that wasn't all they had in mind. They wanted to make the TRL even better than before, so they upgraded its systems with modern technology, increasing efficiency and durability. By combining the best of the past with the power of the present, they created something truly unique, a machine that combined the dependability of old-world craftsmanship with the cutting-edge performance of modern mining equipment. After weeks of non-stop work, the TRL was finally fired up and ready to go. The massive drum churned through dirt and rock, efficiently sifting out gold. Then, to everyone's surprise, the gold began pouring out in quantities far beyond their wildest dreams. The TRL found some of the world's most valuable gold reserves in its processed materials. It was proof that with hard work, determination, risk-taking, and an eye for opportunity, even the most overlooked artifact could be transformed into something truly valuable. Parker had ever seen that old abandoned machine that everyone else had given up on becoming one of Parker Shovel's greatest successes. But this discovery wasn't only about gold. It was also about vision, determination, and the ability to perceive potential where others saw only junk. When Parker and his team demonstrated that mining could become more efficient and sustainable by combining historical equipment with modern innovations, they minimized environmental impact while maximizing gold recovery. Their success went beyond just reviving an old machine. It changed how people thought about mining. Other miners took note of your new norm for responsible mining. The greatest gold rushes didn't always occur in uncharted territory. Sometimes, they lay dormant in the ruins of bygone eras, waiting for the next visionary to unearth them. If you want to see more gold, subscribe now and go on an adventure to find those long-lost riches.